And I just want to welcome you all, and I'd like to introduce Lennie and Tom and Mark, our performers for the evening. I have no idea what this is about, so your guess is as good as mine. Sit back and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. We don't know what's going to happen either. We never do. But I do agree with Sue. And first of all, thank you for finding this room. You're never getting out. This place is huge. I agree with Sue that we're all artists, and that's what we're here to talk about tonight. First, before we do that, I have so many people to thank for this. And they're obvious ones, people I work with all the time. But I have two very special guests here this evening. The first one is the guest of honor. This entire exhibition and tonight, this entire exhibition for the year, it's up for a year, is dedicated to my father, who is a musician, and my late mother, who is an artist. My father is here tonight, Cliff Peterson. Stand up, take a bow. Don't bother standing up. Thank you. And also the second person I have to thank, besides everyone for coming here tonight, and there's so many people that get involved in these functions that we do, these presentations. I need to introduce Alan Lieberman. Alan, where are you? Alan, right there. This is the man responsible for the printing of this beautiful work. SHI Printing, and I was really happy to see him here tonight. So we're going to start. What's going to happen here tonight is that I'm going to draw one of these portraits very quickly, obviously. We're going to be here till 8:30. These normally take me about 2 weeks off and on to do the whole thing. You can see now these on the right and the left, the far right and left, those are actual size. Those are the size that I draw the portraits in, 6x3. The Convention Center Susan suggested that we bring these up to 8x4, which is pretty effective. So the original size is 6x3, that's what this sheet is here. They generally take me about a week or two to do. The process is, the first thing in the morning when I wake up, I have a giant drafting table. There is a window, and the first thing I do in the morning is I turn on great music, like the greatest music I can think of. Miles Davis, Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, Debussy, Stravinsky, people you see around you. And I start drawing. And it's a great time of day to do that because there's nothing on my mind necessarily except coffee. So I can just start drawing and let that go, and it's a great process because by the end of the day, I barely remember doing that, so I can look back at what I did and see where my hand went. So that's a great process. So the advantage I have here tonight is that I have live musicians. My dear best friends, Mark Campbell and Tom Hall, will be playing, improvising music while I'm improvising and drawing. That's what's going to happen here tonight. We're going to also talk to you about creative process. So what I need right now is a few volunteers, and I promise I will not make you act like a chicken and hypnotize you. Anybody? I need like 5 people. Candy, you come on. Rick. Anybody else? 3 more, please. Jack, come on. Anybody? Come on up. And 1 more. I promise I will not make an idiot of you. Just a little bit. Colleen, you should come up too. Colleen's involved, so I'm definitely not going to make you look like an idiot. All right, could you all turn to the left? Or my left? This way. Turn that way. So we're going to talk about creative process. The first thing is knowing right from left. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so could you all keep facing that way and put your hand like this, up like this. Just like that. Okay, now put your hand like that and keep it there. Very good. Good job. Now put your foot just like this. Put your right foot in front of your left foot. Just like that. If you lose your balance, just fall over. Now take your left hand and go like that. But stick it out like behind you. Right. Okay. Stay there. Colleen, you can't look this way. You have to look there. Thank you. What does that remind everyone of?
Walking like an Egyptian.
Egyptians. Egyptians. Every piece of Egyptian art you've ever seen depicting a human is very close to this. Why is that? Anybody know? That's what people look like in Egypt. Okay, so you're dismissed. Does anybody know why the Egyptians drew or created their human beings like this? Two-dimensional art. Okay, somebody at the last session said, well, they didn't know how to draw, and that's actually not true. The last time we did this, anybody get tired? Jack, you okay? All right, good shape. It is not because they weren't good craftsmen. They were great craftsmen. The Egyptian artists were some of the greatest craftsmen that have ever lived. The reason they depicted all their human beings like this is that we see every aspect of the human body. We see every part, and this is the best angle to show the human body. We're seeing both feet, we're seeing both hands, right? We're holding out like this. We're seeing the nose. If you look at Egyptian art, they also drew the eye not from the side, but in the front. Almost like a Picasso thing. Where his eye, what's your name? Austin. They drew his eye like he was looking front, right? That's so we could see every part of that part of the body. So, the Egyptians had a grid system that what's your name? Oh, I met you before. Catherine. Catherine's hand, whether she was this big in a portrait or she was the size of this building in a pyramid, her hand would be the same exact dimensions, whether she was this big or giant. They had 18 parts of the body divided up, and they would make sure that they were all constructed in the same way and in the same dimensions on a grid. Now, why did they do that? Anyone know? Anybody? Any guesses? So they can enlarge them. The first concern with Egyptian art was respect to precision, because they were attributing gods and the dead. So they did not care about expression. They did not care about expression. They did not care about creativity. They cared about giving tribute to the dead and to gods. And they cared about giving tribute to perfection. The Egyptian, thank you all. You're dismissed. Great job. Yeah. Egyptian art is the longest lasting art form in the history of the world. Right now, today, we come across art forms that last about 10, 20 years. In fashion design, we're lucky if it lasts a day, right? In like pop art, abstract expressionism, anything you can do, surrealism, maybe 20, 30, 40 years. The Baroque period lasted about 150 years. The Renaissance lasted about 150 years. The Egyptian art period did not last 100 years, not 300 years, but that art form that you just saw lasted 3,000 years. And one of the reasons for that was they were protected. The Egyptians, I won't get into this too much, but the Egyptians were protected by desert, right? No one could get to them. They were also fed, they were sourced by the Nile. So they were able to exist on their own and create these incredibly strict art forms for themselves. So the reason I'm talking about this is that we all need to create. We all need to be artists. I'm going to talk to that point. Tom is going to talk to that point. And we have kind of whittled down what it takes to create. And this is, I mean, by creating, I mean in a daily life, in a business life, in a family life. There are certain things we need to do. I've been studying the works of, I've been trying to study how genius works for the last couple of years. And I've found geniuses, good and bad in the world, have two things in common. One is that they all believed they were destined to change the world in some way. They all believed that they were born, like Steve Jobs just died, right? His main thing was he was destined from the minute he was born to change the world. The second thing is that they all believed the rules did not apply to them, right? So this is far from the Egyptians. The only thing the Egyptians were allowed to express in their art was the face. you will see Egyptian art with mourning, people smiling, people laughing, but that's other than that, right? They got the smile on the face, they got the tears, whatever. So that was their one part of creativity. We're lucky to live in a period right now, a period of time, where we can create at will. We can create whatever we want. We can create within the structure of where we are told to create. So that goes for business, that goes for family. What's going to happen here is that we're going to improvise. So I'm going to improvise a portrait. The first person who guesses who I'm drawing, by the way, will receive a print of Billie Holiday, right? I'll give that to you. It's a small print. So I'm going to draw a portrait, and while I'm drawing, Tom and Mark are both going to improvise while I come up with this portrait. What we're going to do is this in 10-minute segments, and I'm going to start about now, and then we'll talk about what happened. If you have any questions, anything you want to contribute, please let us know. But we're going to talk about the creative process and how hopefully it can apply to you. So we shall begin. You ready, Mark? What's going to happen? Okay. Pick a guitar.
I'm going to watch.
You sit there and watch. So the first point I want to make is that I take all of these faces. These are all improvised. All the lines you're seeing inside these canvases here, inside these papers, this is all improvised. So when I talked about getting up in the morning and drawing, it's improvising. I'm letting my hand go. The least I can think about, the better. So it's very, very, very similar to doodling. When you're on the phone and you get off the phone, you've been on the phone for half an hour and your hand's been doing this, and you go, oh my God, that's a terrible piece of artwork I just created, right? But the point is that is how all of these are created. I have an outline. I start with an outline of the face, like this is Osvaldo Goya, that's Bach. If I take Bach and I portray his face like the Egyptians do, I use a grid system. I map that out, and then everything inside there is improvised with my hand just drifting. So that's what I'll be doing here while Mark plays. The main theme of today is teamwork and how we're going to create together, my drawing affecting what he plays, his playing affecting what I draw, and hopefully your reaction to what I draw affecting what I play. So there's a nice triangle that happens here. Do this for about 10 minutes and see what happens. Anybody know who it is yet?
Invisible Man. It's me.
You get the
John Lennon.
Do the spray on it.